The mummy's revenge. Altai princess is blamed for misfortunes and natural disasters around the world. The mummy of Princess Ukok, allegedly predicting peace throughout the world, was unearthed by archaeologists in the Altai Republic in the 90s. Since then, there have been many natural disasters and emergencies. Local residents believe that, in this way, the White Lady takes revenge on people for desecrating her grave. The remains were discovered in 1993. The attention of researchers was attracted by a barrow on the Ukok Plateau. The shamans called this place the Valley of Death. According to legend, old people came there to die when they felt the approach of death. The mummy was under a thick layer of ice, so it was very well preserved, and you can see that she's got tattoos on her body. Now, the researchers, after conducting an examination, found that the remains belonged to a woman who was about 25 years old, died 2,500 years ago from breast cancer. Now, how do they know the skeleton belongs to a woman as opposed to a man? The skeleton of a woman is, the pelvis underneath is about 120 degrees opening, whereas the pelvis of a man is more narrow, opening there at 90 degrees. Now, the deceased was wearing a silk shirt, a woolen skirt, stockings, a fur coat, and a horsehair wig was on her head. Another sarcophagus was buried with the mummy, which contained household utensils and the bones of 6 horses. Until now, scientists are arguing whether this woman was a privileged person or belonging to the middle class. Tattoos of unusual animals were found on her body. For example, a deer Capricorn, which among some ancient peoples was a symbol of the guide of the dead. So many assume that she could be a powerful shaman. The locals called the mummy the Princess of Ukok, or the White Lady. Everything went wrong from the beginning. Rumor has it that the discovery of the mummy and all subsequent cataclysms were, let's remember, she's 2,500 years old, so she's from 500 BC. Rumor has it that the discovery of the mummy and all subsequent cataclysms were predicted by a girl living in villages near the Ukok Plateau. She said that the mummy would avenge the desecration of the burial. Indeed, the excavations of the mummy were immediately shrouded in a chain of mystical events. When they began to open the barrow, a strong thunder and an earthquake broke out. The raging elements frightened many local residents, who say that at that moment the archaeologists awakened the spirit of the progenitor and protector of the Altai people, the White Lady, whose relics this is. Princess Ukok could not be transported on the first attempt, as the cars broke down twice. They decided to transport the mummy by helicopter. During the flight, one engine failed, so an emergency landing was made, and fortunately no one was hurt. After the opening of the ancient mound in Altai, many disasters happened. In addition to the earthquake, there were floods, heavy hail, and even suicides. Local residents attributed all misfortunes to the fact that people disrupted the spirit of the White Lady. Also, when the mummy was moved away to another city for further research, large-scale economic problems began there. Some associate the curse of the mummy with the Chechen War, which began in 1995. By the way, the fate of many scientists who took part in the excavations was not the best. Shamans warned researchers about possible karma, and so it happened. Some died of unknown causes, while others were seriously ill. The researchers themselves refused to believe that these series of unfortunate events is associated with this mummy, but there are those who regretted their participation in the excavations of this mummy. Now, who was the White Lady? There is a legend in Altai according to which our world is guarded by 7 sisters who sacrifice themselves, and they protect us from evil spirits. Princess Ukok may also be one of these sisters, so the excavation of her burial ground is a tear in the veil of protection. In the early 2000s, shamans threatened with yet another prophecy. They said that the princess allegedly sacrificed herself to close the gates of evil. It follows from the prophecy that if the burial mound of Princess Okuk is disturbed, then trouble awaits the local population. And if the body is not buried back in the ground, then grief awaits the entire planet. The entire planet. That's it from the early 2000s. The shamans warned about this. Misfortunes around the world continue to occur to this day, which is only worth the coronavirus pandemic, which has claimed thousands of lives, powerful natural disasters, a tsunami in the Indian Ocean, an earthquake in Kashmir, Hurricane Katrina, abnormal heat, the droughts, and war in Ukraine. But is it possible to connect all those incidents with an ancient mummy? And are there any patterns in this? Nobody can say for sure. Failed to appease the mummy? In 2014, the Council of Elders of the Altai Republic wanted to appease the White Lady by reburying her. The court refused, though. They refused their request, this requirement, and they argued their decision by the fact that the mummy is a unique scientific and cultural object, and the process of its reburial can destroy the remains. Now, unfortunately, the officials called it a unique scientific and cultural object, and they don't realize that this body belonged to a human being, and the spirit is still attached to each body. We're not supposed to desecrate the body after it's passed, after it's deceased. That's why we bury it. So it's very strange that these officials called it an object. But anyway, they said the unique scientific and cultural object and process of its reburial can destroy the remains, since all natural conditions were destroyed in the mound, with the help of which they were stored for a long time. Note that the mummy is now in a specially built national museum called Anakin in the Altai Republic. The institution has created a sarcophagus that maintains the right temperature to store the princess. The mummy is shown to visitors for 3 hours a day and only on the growing moon. Museum staff note that the figurines move around in the rooms. Closed doors open by themselves. Some sounds and voices are even heard. So, poltergeist activity in the museum. This is by Soul Ask. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.